I'm on my way to interview the owner of an interesting car. I'm on my way to have a bit of a chat with Bernard about his BMW M Coupe. I'm here talking to Bernard about this BMW
M Coupe.
M Coupe, there you go. Now, my knowledge of this car is all James Bond. That's the only thing I know about it. So, tell us, Wolf, how long have you had it?
So I bought this car in the August of 2005, actually, 2005. I first saw it in 1999 at the Formula One Grand Prix in Melbourne.
Yep.
BMW had it on their car stand as a brand new motor car they were importing to Australia. Fell in love with it immediately.
Yep.
As soon as I saw it, it's got, other than its shape, which I absolutely adore, looks a little bit like a E-Type Jag that's been hit really hard from the back or the front or both. And other than being called an M Coupe in Australia, it's also known as two things, either a bread van or the less nice, it's a hearse for dwarves. Little politically incorrect there as well.
Well, it does look a bit like there's a movie called Harold and Maude, which is a bit of an obscure movie, but one of the characters gets a E-Type Jaguar and turns it into a hearse back on it.
There we are.
And it actually looks really nice. I thought, geez, Jaguar should have thought about that one.
Yeah, it should have, absolutely. So I fell in love with it. So I bought this one 6 years after that out of Sydney. At the time it had about 50,000 Ks on it. And Madeline and I have used it in various touring road events and things like that ever since. It actually got a first outright at what was called the Forest Classic, which was interesting because there wasn't a Forest Road in the Forest Classic.
Yep.
But that was an event run by the Whitten brothers, who used to do Australian Rally Sport News.
Yeah.
And we went down there and got a first outright in the novice class in that, which we were pretty proud of at the time.
Now these are a straight six, aren't they?
So this car's got the infamous BMW straight six 3 litre motor in it.
Right.
Or a bit over 3 litres, about 3.2 litres actually. Puts out about 250 brake horsepower at the wheels.
Right.
So it goes.
Yep.
It's got variable valve timing and things like that. So the harder you rev it, the faster, the harder it seems to go.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
Now they still make this, later model version, don't
Yeah, well, so basically the history of this was it was originally based on the Z4,
right.
Which was a pretty ordinary 4-cylinder motor car.
Oh, okay,
and then it was the Roadster, so that's the one you remember from the Bond
James Bond
days.
films, yeah.
So the Z4 Roadster was how the M first brought out in an M,
Yep.
and then this body was designed in America. So they designed the body in America and then shipped the whole lot off to Germany to have the motor and gearbox fitted to it, basically.
Because it is a very aggressive style, the rear guards are...
Yeah, it certainly is. As I said, I just adore it. I think it's got a beautiful shape. And as I said, it's a bit retro inside with the gauges being chrome and things like that as well. So it's a great car, and it goes extremely quickly. The one thing it doesn't really like is severely bumpy secondary roads.
Right.
It's a bit choppy in that environment, but give it a smooth, fast tarmac road, and it just settles down like you wouldn't believe. Madeline and I took it to Tasmania for 3 years in a row and did what was called a notable and rare vehicle tour down there. A fellow ran that from about 2008, 9 and 10. And we went down there and spent a week touring Tasmania, and it was fantastic to do that in.
Really?
So it's been on the boat over and the boat back and all those sorts of things. It was great. Absolutely.
Yeah, there's a couple of racetracks in Victoria that are on not Victoria, Tasmania, that are on my bucket list of tracks I've never driven on.
Yep.
but it might be that little step too far with the ferry and everything.
Mm.
I was watching a YouTube video on the latest Supra that turns out to be one of these later versions,
Oh yeah,
reshelled.
reshelled.
Which, and the motor is
Made
BMW and what have you, which was a bit, you know, the way model manufacturers do all that stuff. But yeah.
So basically, the history of this car in Australia is that they eventually bought 35 of the coupes in.
Right.
There are also 35 of the Roadsters. The one thing about the coupes is they've really bounced in value now. Even Shannon's talk about the fact that you've got to up the value of the insurance
Really?
on the coupes.
Yeah.
The Roadsters have remained pretty much around the sort of 40 grand mark. The Roadsters don't handle as well, unfortunately, without a roof. Typically, you know, they twist and things in the body shell, and they don't handle quite as nicely.
Right.
But this, as I said, it's a beautiful little car, Madeline and I can go away in it. There's plenty of room for luggage and things like that, which is great. So we've been away in it a lot, essentially. And I've now it's nearly got 100,000 Ks on it.
Really? So BMW, you know, have a bit of a reputation for having a time clock on them. So you haven't had any major
Well,
problems?
I've got in front of the major problem. So there are a couple of knowns with the BMW six-cylinder motor. For a start, the variable valve timing, the Vanos valve, as they call it.
Yep.
So the Vanos valve has been out of this and been to Dr. Vanos in Texas,
Right.
which is a story in itself. A very good friend of mine, Daryl Peaty, did the work for me, which was great. Daryl's a bit of a BMW man, as well as obviously his beautiful GT40. But yeah, Daryl did the work for me here. Unfortunately, just when the motor part hit Texas was when they had that massive hurricane go through the southern part of the states, and the post got lost. The car was off the road for about 9 months.
Really?
Because of the fact that the part got lost, then it got found, and then it got fixed, and then it had to be sent back.
Right.
But yeah, certainly the Vanos valve has been done on this. They also talk about the fact that the rear end starts to crack off the subfloor.
Right.
But that's only for cars that have been driven very hard.
Yeah.
This has never really had a hard time. It's showing no signs of that issue at all.
Yeah, well, fatigue cracking is, an older car problem and a rough road problem, I think.
Yeah, and we run it on a lot of secondary roads. It's even been on the odd gravel road here and there. So, it's certainly, it's served its purpose for us. I still love it, and I think that's the key. Is if you still like putting your bum in something and driving it, that's the importance of keeping it.
Yeah.
And at the moment, all it's doing is basically increasing in value.
Yeah, well, that's most cars go through a trough where they're worthless, and probably not this, I would think, but certainly like my Toyota, goes along. It was in a trough when I bought it, it been worthless, and suddenly they just keep going up.
They jump up in price, and they keep going up. Yep, absolutely.
Well, for how much longer, how much, the petrol and the electric car and everything, I don't know how much longer you can sort of start thinking about that with classic cars. But,
yeah, look, I think I'll be long dead by the time electric cars are really in Australia.
Well, yeah, I think, I certainly will be. Well, thanks, Bernard, for talking about this BMW. It's been nice.
Yeah, thanks very much.
I'm Quack McMullard. Bye for now.